Well, moving into our next story, this is one that I haven't read, um, but it's a piece by Brandon Dre of the Daily Wire. And it's U.S. reading and math scores for 13-year-olds declined to the lowest level in decades. Some of you might be new to the Bald Brad Show. I'm a math teacher myself. I've been teaching, I'm going into my 5th year right now. Prior, I was a public accountant or just in accounting for 10 years. So I still like to think, hey, you know what? I have a kind of an outside perspective of what I've seen change in the education system. And I think a lot of my opinions on this and my viewpoint are productive and also more realistic of, again, yeah, I'm a teacher, but I've seen both sides. My career was not always teaching. So I've seen the outside and I've seen the inside and I've seen how it changed since we were all in school together. So it says here, and I haven't read it. So it says average math and reading test scores for 13-year-olds in the United States hit the lowest levels in decades. That doesn't surprise me, according to a recent National Long-Term Trend Assessment released on Wednesday. National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, officials reported that declining education levels occurred during the pandemic. That's not a shocker to anybody. Everybody expected that to happen. However, the downward trajectory began at least a decade before government officials and school districts shuttered classroom doors and switched to online learning in response to COVID. Again, these declines have been happening for a long time and has been cited in assessment after assessment after assessment. I mean, we knew this even going back to when I was in high school, that assessment scores were dropping. Well, NAEP, which has been monitoring student performance in both subjects since literally the 70s, administered the Federal Standardized Basic Skills Test last fall that showed an average of 256 out of 500 in reading scores and 271 out of 500 in mathematics scores in the 2022-2023 school year. 3 years ago, reading levels were at 260. Again, now they're at 256. While math scores averaged about 280, now they're at 271, so a little bit of a decline. Although the scores represented primarily lower performing students and minority groups, every percentile saw decreased levels. The green shoots of academic recovery that we have hoped to see have not materialized as we continue to see worrisome signs about student achievement and well-being more than 2 years after most students return to in-person learning. Again, this is the National Center for Education Statistics Commissioner Peggy G. Carr said in a news release. There are signs of risk for a generation of learners in the data we are releasing today and have released over the past year. Yes, we all expected this to happen. Long distance learning wasn't going to work, and so we wanted to put people back in schools. What's interesting is yes, you have the conservative Republican side of the aisle complaining about it, rightfully so, because we wanted schools to be back open. So did I. I wanted to be at work. As a matter of fact, I did teach during COVID in the classroom live. I was not in a public school at that time. Furthermore, it's interesting that the Democrats are all like shocked by this, but they're also the ones that are complaining, but they're the ones that wanted everything to be on lockdown, which is wild. They're the ones that didn't want schools back open. The Democrats did, but they're going to complain about it. Carr said the center observed steep drops in achievement, troubling shifts in reading habits, and rising mental health challenges paired with alarming challenges in school climate. One thing I want to mention here is, even for me, the mental health crisis that is going on is bananas, you guys. And I'm one of those, like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, get with it. I don't really deal with excuses, even on my end. I don't want to say I'm tough, but mentally, I would like to say, honestly, I'm tough mentally. It's like, hey, just deal with it. What are you going to do? Roll on your back and say, woe me, or you're going to figure the damn thing out. Nowadays, that is not the case. And not only is a student just stressed out because they have an exam or something, to give kind of an example, but you have people on the back end that are kind of exacerbating and basically going along with the idea of stress. And so because you're stressed, it's now considered a mental health issue. And because it's a mental health issue, you no longer have to take that exam, and the exam gets prolonged. So you take it like a week and a half later. The problem is that you're just going to stress the kid out more, because not only does he have to study for a test that he didn't study for that entire month, and knowing that the test was coming up for an entire month, but now they have to learn new material on top of learning the old material and expect to perform well, which is not going to help them. It's better, hey, just take the test and fail the damn thing right now, and then learn the new content. Hopefully you can make that up in the back end. So that's one thing they're doing. I mean, the mental health thing, I have definitely 100% seen. We are not building a strong society nowadays. We are coddling these children at home, in sports, on media, in the school system, everywhere. We are coddling these children. If you want to see and read a great book, there was a prior senator of Nebraska called Ben Sasse. He wrote a book called Vanishing American Adult. I highly recommend you pick it up. Does a phenomenal job of explaining what's going on, because adults are vanishing. They've gone so far to kind of try to extend high school to grade 16 because of basically the deficiency in obviously reading and math and other subjects. But you can literally I was talking to this with a colleague. and also a friend of mine, you can give students an open note test and they will still fail it. It's not an exaggeration. They'll get like a 48% and still fail it. I've seen that in mathematics. I have seniors before in the past that literally didn't know what a circle was, you guys, or a triangle or a square. They didn't know how to draw a straight line. And people always think like I'm exaggerating or I'm joking. I am being as literal as I possibly can. I'm not even saying know the nuances of a circle or triangle, the degrees and all that stuff. What's the area of it? No. I am saying they literally don't know they can't identify a circle, a square, a triangle. They can't draw a straight line. They're not mentally off. We just progress them through the system, and then they just come out on the back end. These people are voting. I have kids that are senior levels that literally don't know how to multiply, you guys. That is elementary school. Don't know what 2 times 2 is. It's wild what we're seeing. They don't know how to work a calculator. Remember how we would starve, we would crave to have a calculator when we were in school. You don't even know how to work a calculator. I'm not trying to hound the generation that's being upbringing, but the school system, it's not the teachers, you guys. It's not like we just sit back and go, figure it out yourself. I'm sure there's some teachers like that. The vast majority, easily 95%, even those that are lefties, Democrats, Republicans, they're sitting up there teaching. The question is what is going on at home? Some school districts are doing away with homework. Some school districts are doing away with discipline. They're doing away with everything. It's basically just babysitting now. I go up there and I teach every single day. Granted, my grades are pretty good, but I have students that fail. The question is, what are you doing at home? When you go to school, day's not over. I know you want it to be, but it's not. The day is not over. What do you get to do? You have to go home and do what? That we all did for literally decades. Homework. You don't practice, you're going to suck at the thing that you're not practicing at. If you had a sport and you didn't practice, are you going to be good at it? You're not. I know this is self-evident, but you guys, if you are parents, and I know I'm maybe preaching to the choir, I hope to have kids one day. I'm going to sit down with them at the dinner table after work, even though I don't want to because I'm tired, especially as a teacher. I don't want to go back to teaching after I get home. You have to help and educate your children. The teachers are there to teach, and we are. That's why the kid has notebooks. If the kid doesn't take notes, you should probably look at the kid and see, hey, are there any notes in there? As the parent, that is your job. The teacher, it is our job to check as well, but you can't force a kid to do something. They're not your children. They're not my children. I'm sit there to help them. I'm doing the best I possibly can. I promise. There's a lot of teachers like that as well. You're still going to have kids that are going to fail. If they're not going home practicing their reading, what do you think's going to happen? If you're not going home and studying the mathematics, what do you think's going to happen when you have the test? Obviously, they're going to not do well. Obviously. Like, none of this is brain surgery, you guys, but we're treating it as if it's brain surgery. We're treating it as like, oh, we're blown away that kids don't know basic mathematics or basic reading. Yeah. And by the way, you guys let's be real. Somebody that has pushed this a lot of the LGBTQ stuff is not what's ruining the education system. I don't agree with it. I don't think it should be in the education system, but that's not like what's taking up all our time. It's silly. Okay, we can't be like the person that we just saw in the first segment thinks there's an infinite amount of genders, and also be that person on the right that's like, oh well, they're just teaching all this LGBTQ stuff. You guys know they're not. They are doing it. Obviously, we talk about it all the time here on the Paul Brad Show, and again, I don't agree with that. I don't think it should be happening, but that's not what's going on. What's going on? People are not studying, and we have to come to terms and realization is that. Again, as somebody that went from accounting to school, I'm just giving you my observation. As somebody that's entered in a new career going, man, they're not doing anything. They don't give 2 Fs because they know they're going to get passed through the system. Everybody knows that. Nobody gets held back anymore, you guys. You're not going to see that anymore. There's no child left behind, even though that was done away with under Barack Obama, right? It was instituted by Bush, done away with under Barack Obama. There are kids that are not getting held back. You want to see a shift in the education system? Start holding kids back, man. Start making them accountable. But parents don't want that. People don't want that. It's the truth. I know I'm venting, it seems like, but I'm just giving you actual facts. What I've seen, I've worked in many school districts. That's what I've seen. According to the center, fewer students engage in reading for fun and forego taking algebra courses since 2012, particularly in Western region of the United States. They want to play video games. They want to stream. They want to do all these things. As a parent, what do we have to do? Reading time, folks. It's just frustrating how, again, it all gets put on the teacher and the schools and the school districts. Oh, you're giving them more money, but the grades aren't getting better. Okay, well, let's shift the conversation. What's the amount of hours of studying that's being done outside of the classroom? If you want more hours of study, if you want more time in the classroom, then condense the school day. I'm fine with that. Got no problem. Condense the school day then. And then we'll teach what we have in the school day. Then they go home and practice. Got no issues with that, but it's just the blaming constantly gets put on like, well, you're not teaching. It's a two-way street, man. You teach the content. If you're not practicing, if you're not going home reading, if you're not doing the mathematics, if you're not doing the science, if you're not doing the stuff at home, and you're spending your time watching TV, going and doing something else, sports or whatever it may be, then obviously you're going to sacrifice your grades for whatever you're doing outside. It's called opportunity cost. Again, none of this is rocket science, but whenever I talk about this, by the way, the education videos I do are some of the lowest viewing videos by far, because people don't want to hear it. It's easy to blame somebody else. You see the Democrats do it all the time. You see the left do it all the time. I don't want the viewers of the Bald Brad Show, our audience, to be like that. It's pull yourself up, get yourself to grips on what's going on, and figure this out. You know what I mean? They keep blaming everybody for everything. I know some teachers are bad. I'm fully on board with agreeing with that. But if the teacher isn't teaching, what I've always said is, can we stop being those turtles that just fall on our shell and go, oh my God, I can't get up. That person pushed me over. Like, get yourself up and figure it out. You have literally the entire internet to find answers and solutions to whatever question that you literally have in life. There's books out there. This whole idea of like, I can't learn because some dude in a classroom or some girl in a classroom didn't teach me something. Then get online and figure it out. Like, what? And by the way, you're talking about high school mathematics. I get if your kid's in calc or something or physics. Yeah, that mathematics is a little bit hard. 100% on board. Vast majority, these are not the kids that they're talking about. These kids are taken up to Algebra 2. That is a joke on math. Meaning that if you are a parent, and I know I'm continually going to the parents, but I'm not there at home with your child. I wish I was to help them, but I'm not. Then what can you do is you can learn that mathematics. You've already taken it. You can't be like, well, I sucked at math. The question is, why do you suck at math? I did too in high school, by the way. I was terrible at math, and now I'm a math teacher. My averages are usually about 85 a year, meaning they're about a B, which is a good average. But I sucked at math, and what I did, I just, started studying around junior year, and I turned my grades around and ended up with a 3.7 GPA in high school. And then I studied my bleep off in college and got a 4.0 in my master's degree. So you can do it. You just got to put in time. And trust me, I put in a lot of hours of studying. That's for damn sure. Way more than any of my friends. Back to the article. NCES Acting Associate Commissioner Dan McGrath said before 2012, the center noticed improvements in math and some in reading since the 1970s. However, middle school students' learning achievements continue declining, lasting more than a decade. Middle school is a critical time for students. I 100% agree by that, by the way. There's a lot of development of the brain. That also continues in the high school, but middle school is a very crucial time. At a time when they are maturing academically as well as socially and emotionally. Then at that point, you need to put in strict standards so when they go to high school, they don't think that they can get away with all these things of like, well, I don't have to do anything. They're just going to pass me through the system. You hold the kid back in middle school, should be in ninth grade. It's a little bit of an embarrassment for them. What happens for students in middle school can strongly influence their path through high school and beyond. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona, which I have qualms with, by the way, addressed the assessment in news release on Wednesday, arguing the latest data shows further evidence that the pandemic had a devastating impact. We know this, a devastating impact on students' learning ability. So nothing's going to change. If you want things to change, you have to study at home. It's simple as that. Parents out there, teachers out there as well, help these people, help these students, put in all the effort you can. People ask, Brad, if you have a kid that fails at the end of the day, do you feel bad? Yeah, I still feel bad because I feel like I failed them. My intention is not to fail a student. I want everybody to get A's. But I know I set myself up in a very strategic position. I dot my I's, cross my T's. I put in as much effort as I possibly can. If a student still fails, I don't feel bad on my part. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. The reason why I say that is because I poured my heart and soul to helping everybody. They get to a point where you've put in so much work that the only thing you can actually do to help that person at that point is actually take the test for them, which you're not allowed to do. I would if I could. That's to the extent that I go as a teacher. So do I feel bad? Yeah, of course, as a human being, you feel bad because you don't want that person to fail. You understand the obstacles they're going to have to go through, and life is going to be that much harder, and you don't want that for them. But you also set yourself up going, look, man, I cognitively, strategically have no more answers as to far as what I can literally offer you as services, as what time I can give you. I don't know what more you want me to give you. If you could set yourself up as a teacher like that, there's going to be kids that don't pass, but I've seen it happen. I've seen where you force kids to go from an F to a C. Like literally 5 days before school, missing 40 assignments or whatever. All of a sudden now they're just passing because you're just passing these kids through the system. It happens. Well, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear from you. Does it seem like I'm hounding parents a lot? Because quite frankly, I am. I'm just giving you a third-party view of what I've seen from going to accounting to teaching. Would love to hear from you.
I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.